And I know that most people have already given up on their New Year's resolutions, but maybe you shouldn't. If you eat well, exercise, take care of yourself, everything in moderation, as they say, you could live to be 200 years old, maybe even 300 years old. I'm not kidding. You could be older than a lot of fairies, a lot of witches, even some wizards, Gandalf, Lord of the Rings, if you believe the federal government. According to documents recently uncovered by the Department of Government Efficiency, almost 3,000 people between the ages of 200 and 249 are still eligible to receive Social Security checks from Uncle Sam. And one gentleman, well over 360 years old, was still eligible to get his monthly check. And no one on the left thinks that any of this is a problem, but we do here on Finnerty. The 360-year-old man would have been born in approximately the year 1660, 40 years after the Mayflower arrived in the New World, more than 100 years before the American Revolution, over 70 years before George Washington was born, meaning this gentleman could have literally been at the very first Thanksgiving, and he could have voted for Donald Trump in November. How about that? I'd love to meet him. I mean, if he's still got all his marbles, the stories that he could tell would be magnificent. Elon Musk tweeting out the list of age ranges today of Americans still eligible to get paid by the federal government in what could be the very best example of why this country needed a Department of Government Efficiency in the first place. When you look at the age ranges of the people on this list, people between 140 and 149 years old, there were almost 4 million, just over 3.5 million. Where are all these people? If someone is watching this program right now and is 149 years old, please reach out. We'd love to have you on as a guest. The data, quote, showed millions of people over the age of 120, including one between the ages of 360 and 369. In total, the data accounting for nearly 395 million people. The population of the United States, roughly 335 million people, meaning that about 60 million Social Security numbers were listed as eligible beyond the living population, meaning it's impossible that that many people are eligible for Social Security. But that is what America has been for so long under Democrats and Republicans. 60 million. Elon Musk called it the biggest fraud in American history. Imagine discovering something like that. Imagine you're at the office one day and you figure out that you could save your company millions of dollars. Imagine being the one at your company that figured out that your company was writing checks to 60 million dead people. If you work for Joe Biden, they'd throw you a ticker tape parade right in New York City. You'd be on TV every single day. Instead, the legacy media are comparing DOGE saving money to something else.
I keep going back to this does remind me of the federal government version of the Afghanistan drawdown. Everyone agreed it was pretty much a bipartisan consensus. We needed to get out of Afghanistan. The way we went about doing it was horrible. We could have done it in a better way.
The Afghanistan withdrawal. MSNBC is trying to compare government waste to 13 Americans being killed at Abbey Gate at Kabul Airport in August 2021. And Democrats wonder why nobody likes them. Nobody likes them. Not the people, the party. Democrats wonder why, as a party, they are so out of touch with the country. Democrats wonder why now, on almost a daily basis, their beloved New York Times is putting out headlines like this. Democrats fear they are missing the moment to remake the party. That one yesterday morning. What's also getting missed is that nobody is being missed. And this is important. I don't want to see anybody lose their job, but thousands of government employees have been shown the door over the last 4 weeks, and nothing's changed. Nothing. Has anything changed in your life? Is anything different? Will anything be different when you wake up tomorrow morning? The answer is likely no, meaning, well, unfortunate, maybe all of these people were expendable after all. Maybe the team leaders in charge of USAID programs that sent $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique, and $20 million for fiscal federalism in Nepal, and $3.3 million for LGBTQ people in the Caribbean, and $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, and $30 million to study AIDS among trans people in South Africa, and $1.5 million for DEI programs in Serbia, and $15 million for condoms in Afghanistan. Maybe those employees really were expendable after all. Maybe they really were wasting your money. But if you work at CNN, none of that makes any sense.
that even a temporary interruption in federal employment is a great crisis and catastrophe for you and for CNN. What the American people see is a government that is finally delivering a promise of accountability under President Trump. You want to have a conversation about transparency? Let me ask you a question. Do you have any idea where the $22 billion that the Department of Health and Human Services provided to illegal aliens under Joe Biden is right now? $22 billion with a B. That's enough to provide a free house to every homeless veteran in America.
Rule number 26, if you're a news anchor, by the way, try not to ever get rolled by the guest. Try not to get rolled and dominated by the guest. And everyone calls it USAID. It's USAID, USAID. All the left-leaning networks every single day, it's USAID that's getting cut. It's not even what it stands for. Has anybody said this? USAID stands for the United States Agency for International Development. Aid isn't even in the name. It's nowhere in there, okay? But if you're at CNN, aid sounds a whole lot better than the Agency for International Development, so that's what they say. But what happened with USAID, like so many other government departments, is that what started with what were probably the best intentions has turned into an absolute schizophrenic woke nightmare. And $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique doesn't develop anything. In this case, if you think about it, it's actually the opposite. $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique is actually taking something pretty important away. But Democrats, again, so blinded by wokeness, think that fighting cuts to programs that don't make any sense is the start of another revolution.
The American Revolution started here. The revolution of abolitionism started here. The revolution of the suffragette movement started here. The revolution of same-sex marriage started here. The revolution against civil war in Vietnam started here. The revolution against Donald Trump and Elon Musk, it starts here in Boston.
See the sign behind Ed Markey there, say no to hate? None of this has to do with hate. It's about saving the American people money. And frankly, I think a lot of this is about Elon Musk, who I will admit right now is overexposed at the moment. The American people are funny. And maybe you're feeling this too a little bit, but the American people love you one moment, then they don't love you anymore. Look at Taylor Swift as an example. She got booed at the Super Bowl. Elon Musk is right on that line right now. I like everything that he's doing with DOGE, but I don't need to see him every single day. But the more that I thought about that, the more that I realized that Elon being everywhere all at once is probably part of the plan. The White House wants Elon out there facing the heat because that allows them to do what they're there to do, and that is to make this country great again. And the media are taking the bait on a daily basis. They hate Elon Musk, the world's richest man, the former Democrat, the white African-American with 13 kids who owns SpaceX and Tesla, who now works for Donald Trump. They hate him for it, to the point where Elon Musk has become the focus and not Donald Trump, which is blinding Democrats to everything that Donald Trump is actually doing, to the point where even when the American people are clearly indicating that they are really happy for the first time in years, the most senior Democrat in Congress cannot bring himself to admit that Donald Trump might be doing a decent job.
A recent poll by Marquette looked at several of the things that he has done or says that he is going to do, and 63% favor federal government's recognition of only two sexes. 60% favor deporting immigrants who entered the United States illegally. 60% favor expanding oil and gas production. 59% favor declaring an emergency at the southern border. Is there anything you are seeing that Trump is doing that you are in favor of, that you think is the right thing?
Let me say, as it relates to all of those issues, we're just at the beginning.
He can't even answer that like a politician. A politician in that spot should just say, there are some things that I think Donald Trump has done well, but, and I'm not a politician. And I just ad-lib that. That's just common sense. They're so lost and so far gone, they can't even do that. Hakeem Jeffries can't even admit that Donald Trump might be off to an okay start and then criticize him. The Democratic Party, after decades of really bad ideas, now find themselves in the almost un-American position of being against a department designed to save Americans money. Think about that. The Department of Government Efficiency was literally created to save Americans money, meaning once again, Democrats, after years of corruption, are fighting against common sense once again. Under Joe Biden, thousands of new IRS agents were hired to do one thing, and that's audit you, audit the American people, and keep the gravy train running. If you want to spend $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique, that money's got to come from somewhere. And the Biden plan was clear. It was to audit millions of Americans and get the money they needed for their twisted, warped, weird, nonsensical projects. And in one final act of corruption, on the way out the door, the outgoing Biden IRS fast-tracked an audit of Pete Hegseth, the guy Donald Trump just nominated to become our next defense secretary. And if you think that's a coincidence, please offer my regards to the Tooth Fairy.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.